function related and their distinguishing characteristics. Rate of change, intersect, linear, nonlinear, etc.
Keep going.
I can communicate the similarities and differences of different functions represented in different ways. Table, graph, equation, verbally. I can distinguish between linear and nonlinear functions in all representations. Table, graphs, equations.
So we're going to kind of be going back and forth between all these. So just for a little bit of review, if you are looking at this, when you're given two or more functions, what are the properties of those functions that we could compare? And then the second part, how can I compare a function that are represented differently? For example, if we look at a table, a graph. That first one, this is what I would like you to write down. We are in your notes. This is page 17 in your notes. So please write down things that we can look at when we're given two or more functions. We can compare their rates of change, their location or y-intercept, or sometimes called their initial value. And we can compare the types of functions, if they are linear or nonlinear. When you did activity 7, you should have found a couple of them were linear and a few of them were not linear. Gunnar, do you have something to write with? So you can fill this in so we don't have to wait for you. Those are the three things in that for the slope. So rate of change or slope, location of the y-intercept. Remember, if you're looking, when we talk about this y-intercept, that is the y value when x equals 0 on a graph. It's on the y-axis, so it's the points that are on the y. Some of you are getting that mixed up and always looking at it on the x, so it's on the y line. Or it's where they tell you you initially start off in a story problem. That next part down that you should be writing, you wanted to write that and fill that in. I can pause, we'll wait for you. Comparing our functions, the next thing I want you to write down is that we want to look at each one separately and figure out the slope. So, if you have a table and a graph or an equation, you want to figure out what is the slope, what is the y-intercept, and then you want to compare them. You are. That's this whole part right here. That's why I put it up here for you.
Okay.
It says, convert the function in one form to another to make a comparison. So if you're given a graph and a table, you might want to graph the table so that then you can compare their steepness. If you're given a table and an equation, you may want to write one of them either as a table or as a equation. We have Pete's and House Depot we're looking at, and we are asked two things. It says compare and contrast their initial value and their service. So that's the first thing we want to take a look at. The next thing we're going to compare and contrast their hourly rates. And then the last one we're going to look at which one is cheaper. So for that first part, if we are looking at their initial values, neither one of them have a 0, right? So we need to put in our 0, right? What does it look like House Depot is going up by each time? By 60. So at 0, what do we expect the initial value to be? 0. Here, at Pete's Plumbing, how much is it going up by each time? By $50, right? We're adding 50 each time for each hour. So if we have to go back 50, Pete is charging us initially for 0 hours, 120. So first thing it asks us to do is compare their initial values of service. Initial values. Pete's initial is 120. Please write down. House Depot is 0. Now we want to look at their hourly rates. You guys were just telling me that our hourly rates for Pete's was, we added $50 per each hour. House Depot, we are adding how much each hour? 60. So if we are looking at comparing their hourly rates for each company, please just pay in the front, pay attention. Pete's should be $50 an hour for our rate. House Depot is 60. You want to write down that first part too. Add the zeros in here also. So if you didn't add the zeros at the top and you didn't have the plus 60, please write that in and the plus 50. And now it says, okay, if we are looking at these, I can definitely see, like, for 1 hour, I'd choose House Depot, right? 2, 3 hours. If it's the same plumbing job, much cheaper to go that way. But the question says, which service is gonna be cheaper for a 10-hour job? So, the thing that we need to take a look at is we need to look at each of these, and we need to write down, so what I want you to do, as you're looking at this, is we are gonna put down our equation for each one. Does it make sense that Pete's is gonna be y equals 50x plus 120? His rate he's charging us, unit rate is 50, and he had to start, if we look at our y-intercept at 120. House Depot started at 0, so y equals 60x. This is where, on that activity 7 that many of you were doing, when it asks for the 10th one in that pattern, you don't want to maybe draw it, but now what you want to do is you want to plug in 10 in place of where x is. So please write this down. Y equals 50. So some of you haven't written the equation yet, so make sure you write the equation. Making sure you got that whole part in your notes. 2. You're not comparing the initial one, so make sure when you do the homework questions that you're reading the actual question. Top of the next page. We are now, as you are looking at this, comparing functions that are displayed differently. So, Alex, would you please read for us? Wait. Guys, quit talking. Hey, quit. Alex, go ahead. So in this case, they're asking us which package, if we are looking at this, top of the next page, which package is going to cost the most for 10 people. Now, first thing, if we are looking at both of these, what I want you to write on your paper is this information that's right down here. So if we are looking at it, the first thing, can we write an equation for package B? So if we are looking at this in package B, we're going to write them both in slope-intercept form. So write both equations slope-intercept form. Is package A already in slope-intercept form? Yeah. So if we are taking a look, if we take a look at package A and package B, package A, y equals 6x plus 5. I know. I'm waiting. Package B, if we notice each time it's going up by 8, so if you were looking at the 0 for no people showing up, right, the cost was 0. Whereas this other package, they are charging us $6 per person, but you have an initial fee of 5. So if we are looking for 10, when x equals 10, please write that right behind. X equals 10. So, right on that bottom part, you're filling this in with that. This is, I'm just moving this down so you can fill yours in. So, write both in slope-intercept, we're going to find what x is 10. If we are looking at x equaling 10, do you need to move someplace?
What?
Do you need to move?
No.
Is that not working? Because it's not working for me when you're doing that.
Okay.
Okay, then fill this in, because you should be writing. If we are looking at our second one, we are going to take 8 times 10. So, writing them both in the same form, we can now find that the first package A, if we are looking at that, package A is going to be at $65. Package B is going to be at $80 for 10 people. And when you are comparing these, this last statement is the one that a lot of times people kind of miss. So package A is 65, package B was 80 for 10 people. Package B costs $15 more than package A. You can sign up for a music download service to get music for your phone, but they have said you have to pay for it. There are two companies that you are deciding between. Look at their pricing plans below to answer the question. So you have Danelle's Music. Starts at 0 at 20. And you can see that by the time you have 10 songs, so if we are looking at this point, at 10 songs, it costs us how much? $40, right? Here the equation is y equals 3x plus 15. So our initial fee for Danelle, so it says which company charges more per song. So for 10 songs, how many dollars are you paid? 40. Not 40 for 10 songs, right? Because you had an initial fee of 20. So if you paid for that initial fee of 20, we're going to take 40, right? And subtract 20, change in y. So please write change in y. Okay. Taking this point at 40 minus this point right here at 20. So the change in y. This point, remember, is located at 0, 20. So 40 minus 20 over our change in x. What is our change in x? 10 minus 0, which means we have 20 divided by 10, or how much per song? $2 per song. So which company is charging more per song? Danelle or JD's? JD's. So if we are looking at that, which one is charging more per song? We should have JD's. JD's is charging, if we look at that, $3 a song, right? Versus, if we are looking at, so $3, put that right behind there, $3 per song. Whereas if we are looking at Danelle's was $2, right? $2 per song. So it says which company has a higher membership initial fee if we are looking at how much we have to pay up front for each company. In this case, which one charges more? Should be Danelle's. And if I asked you why, we would say that $20, right, is more than JD's, which was $15, right? This was their initial fee. So it says if you have $40 to spend, which company might you choose? Okay. If you have $40 to spend, which company might you choose? So what I want you to do is in that, if we are looking at this one, we know if we are going to be looking at $40 with Danelle's, how many songs can you get? 10. Only 10, right? 10. So Danelle's, if we are looking at Danelle's, you are going to have 10 songs. Quit, guys. For $20 or for our $40, right? Whereas how much can you get for JD's? If we're going to look at JD's, we want to put $40 for Y. So put 40 equals 3x plus 15. Write it down, Jaden. 40 equals 3x plus 15. If I want to solve for x, what is my first step in solving for x, Timothy? We are looking at that. What is my first step in solving for x?
You divide the 40 by the 3. Yeah, you divide the 40 by the 3.
Not yet. I got to get 3x by itself here. How do I get 3x by itself if I have plus 15? We're going to subtract 15. So please take 40 minus 15. So we get 3x is equal to 40 minus 15 gives us 25. Maddie, next step is to do what? Okay, divide them both by 3. And in this case, how many songs can we get? 25 divided by 3, x is equal to
8 1/3.
8 1/3. So you can really only get, if we are looking at that, 8 songs, right? For $20 or for $40. So if you only had $40 to spend, which company should you choose? We should choose Danelle's, right? Because you get 10 songs compared to 4. Okay? 10 songs compared to 4, or to 8. Okay? Taking a look at that next one. Jack, as you're looking at your notes, would you please read?
The neighborhood,
Yep, you, Jack Rose.
the neighborhood friends have decided to have a running race down the street. Here is information about the distance B in terms of time, speed, and seconds.
So we know Abby has this table. At 18 seconds, she's at a distance 70, 20, 77, 22, 84. If we are looking at this, we know Marty runs 5 meters in 2 seconds and has a 10-meter head start. And Kristen has this distance of D equals 4.5 T plus 3. And then we have Ted over here. So we have 4 different people if we are looking at this. So it's asking you first off, which friend has the fastest pace, which means we are looking at their unit rate. So if we are going to find the unit rate for each person, right? Abby's. Let's go up here and find our slope M. For Abby, we are going to find the change in Y divided by our change in X. How is the Y changing? From 77 to 84, 84 to 91, 91 to 98. What is our change? We are adding how much each time? Plus 7. So please put 7 divided by, how is our time changing? Adding 2. So 7 divided by 2 gives us 3.5, right? In this case, we would say, since our time is in, that we are looking at is in seconds, so we're going to have 3.5 meters per second. What is Marty's going to be? If we take 5 and divide by 2. 2.5, right? Because you're taking 5 and dividing it by 2. 2.5 meters per second. Kristen is what? As you look at the equation. Shh, quit. Kristen is what? As you look at the equation, Kine, what do you see? Because her rate is what? Keeping in mind that when we write an equation, our slope is always what's times the variable, right? So if we are looking at this equation, what would you say my rate is? 4.5. We look at this one. So change in Y, Lucy, from 5 up to 45. What is my change in Y? From 5 up to 45. How far did we go up, Lucy? From 5 to 45. We went up 35, right? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. We're going up here. 45 should be up, not 35, but 40. And Chase, what's our change in X? Going across.
10.
Going to have 10. So if we are looking at our rate of change for Ted's is 4 meters per second. Abby's was 3.5. Marty's was 2.5, and Kristen's was 4.5. So in order to answer the questions when you're doing this in your homework, same thing. You need to find all of these unit rates. So which friend has the fastest pace? Should be Kristen. 4.5. How do we know this? Hers is the highest slope. It's the largest slope. If we would have graphed all of them, hers would be the steepest line. Right? So looking at it, depending on if we're looking at the lines, but in this one, which friend had the biggest head start? Do we have any idea? We can tell where Ted's head start is, right? It's 5. We can tell Kristen's is at 3. Marty's was at 10. Do we have any idea what Abby's was? 18. How do we know Abby's is 3? How are you going to get that? What are you thinking, Haley? We're looking at Abby. We've got to go all the way back to 0, right? No problem. So if we are looking at Abby's, if we want to look at Abby's, if we are thinking about our equation, right? We have each time it's going up 3.5 minutes at 20. So if we are looking at this, which ones have the biggest head start as we are looking at this? We are going to take a look at our friends that we are looking at, and we should have, in this case, Marty with 10 meters. And then when you look at that, his y-intercept is going to be the highest as we take a look at that. So please make sure you write that down. The last part that we are taking a look at, right? We plugged in 70 because 70 was our distance. We took 3.5, which was our rate of change, times 18 because our rate here was 18 when we were looking at the time. 70 equals 63 plus b. We're going to subtract 63, which means in this case, don't do that, Jake. In this case, b is going to be equal to 70 minus 63 is 7. So at 0, 7. Please write that in on the table. Some of you were taking notes on the bottom half where it's talking about the interpreting functions with that last part, which we are now going to take a look at. So, this time we're taking a look at these spiders. So, Speedy and Scooter are spiders. They're climbing on a wall. One spider is directly above the other. The distance in centimeters traveled over time in seconds is given below in the equation and the table. So, would you say because Speedy says y equals negative 3.5x plus 7 that he's going up or down?
Down.
Going down, right? If we are looking at Scooters, Scooter starts at 0, 4. This one starts at where? Starting point is, for Speedy was 0, 7, right? Scooter starts at 0, 4. What are you looking for? If we are looking at Scooter, is he going up or down? Up. So our rate of change is going to be, how much are we adding on each time? Distance is 3.5. So you are asked to find the rate of change of both and then tell what that number means. So if we are taking a look at the first one, Speedy we put is going down at 3.5 centimeters per second. When you take the test, I'm going to be looking for labels with your answers, not just the 3.5. We would look at Scooter is climbing up because his is a positive 3.5. And then it says, what does that mean? And they're both climbing the same speed, just different directions. So the positive is telling us that it's going up. The negative is going down. Question, Jack? So the next one, it says, what is their initial value for each spider that we are taking a look at? So if we are looking at the initial value for each spider, the first one, if we are looking at, Speedy starts at 7 because that plus 7 back here. So 7 centimeters above the floor. If you are writing that in, we are going to say that Scooter starts 4 centimeters above the floor. They will be 3 centimeters apart when they started moving. So since they're moving at the same rate, they will meet halfway at 5.5 centimeters off the floor.